welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something I know many of you have run into. That feeling when native English speakers just seem to be talking incredibly fast.
Yeah, it's like warp speed sometimes.
Exactly. Like the words all melt together and, the English you actually hear out there sounds almost nothing like what you learn from a textbook.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of being like left behind in a conversation because it's moving so quickly, it's super common, totally understandable.
Right.
So our goal today really is to give you some practical tools, some actual insights, so you can start feeling, well, a lot more confident when you're listening to that natural, fast-paced English.
Okay.
We're not just going to point out the problem. We want to actually equip you with exercises you can use, like, right away.
Exactly. We're really going to get into why fluent speakers sound so fast. Things like how words connect, the rhythm, the stress.
The emphasis.
And then we'll move into some, hands-on listening exercises. And we'll also touch on mindset, because that plays a surprisingly big role.
It really does.
So if you've ever had that thought, like, whoa, hang on, that was way too fast, I missed all of that, then this deep dive is absolutely for you. Okay, so let's unpack this. What is actually happening? Why does fast English sound so fast?
Well, the first thing to get, I think, is that it's almost never someone trying to be difficult or speak quickly on purpose.
They're not trying to confuse you.
No, not at all. It's much more about the natural flow, the rhythm that just comes with speaking fluently. When you're comfortable, words just sort of link together, almost automatically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, think about how often, instead of saying each word super clearly, what are you doing, it just comes out like,
what's that doing? Or what you doing?
like, I am going to, just naturally slides into I'm gonna.
Exactly. Gonna. It's these little shortcuts, really, that make it smoother and faster for the speaker.
But for someone learning, those familiar words can suddenly sound completely different, unrecognizable sometimes.
Precisely. And it's not just about, squishing words together. The way we stress certain words and the ups and downs in our voice, the intonation that has a huge impact.
On speed and meaning. Right.
Both, definitely. Think about a simple sentence. I didn't say he stole the money. Okay. Now listen to how the meaning completely changes just based on where I put the emphasis. I didn't say he stole the money.
Meaning someone else said it.
Right. Or, I didn't say he stole the money.
Someone else stole it. I didn't say he stole the money.
He borrowed it or found it.
Exactly. Or, I didn't say he stole the money.
He stole something else entirely.
See? So, really understanding fast English isn't just about catching the words. It's about picking up on these patterns, these shifts in stress and rhythm, too.
Okay, so it's a mix of things. The actual speed, how the words link up, and where that emphasis falls. You mentioned connected speech. Let's dive into that a bit more. What's really going on there? Yeah, connected speech is fascinating because it really does transform how words sound. It's all about making speech flow smoothly by, joining words.
Okay.
Often, the sound at the end of one word blends right into the sound at the beginning of the next.
Like they bleed into each other?
Kind of, yeah. And sometimes sounds even disappear completely. Like the T in want to often just vanishes, right? It becomes wanna.
Right, wanna. That's a classic.
And sometimes, surprisingly, new sounds can actually pop up between words just to make the transition easier. Like a little yai sound. Think, did you becoming didja?
Didja? Yeah, I can hear that.
Or sometimes a soft she sound, like in could you. It might sound more like coulda. That happens a lot when a word ends in D and the next starts with Y. Our mouths just naturally do it.
Can you give us a couple more really clear, everyday examples of how this sounds?
Sure. Do you want to eat? Very, very commonly just flows into do you want to eat?
Want to eat. Yeah.
And could you help me out? Might sound more like, could you help me out? Hear that little glide? Could you help me out?
Yeah, definitely. Those little shifts, they seem small, but they add up and really change the overall sound, don't they?
They really do.
I think it'd be great for listeners to actually hear a couple more examples. Our source material has some good ones.
Yeah.
Let's start with, did you eat already? How does that shift?
Okay, so slowly, carefully, did you eat already?
Right.
But in natural, faster speech, it very often sounds like, did you eat already?
Did you eat?
Did you? Exactly. That did you melts together. Maybe try repeating that yourself, just mentally or quietly. Did you eat already?
Yeah, it almost becomes one sound. Did ya? What's another common one?
Another really good one is, what are you going to do now? Slowly, each word is separate.
Okay.
But fast, it's often, what are you going to do?
What you gonna do? Oh,
Yeah, or what do you mean? The RU can become ya, and going to slims down to gonna. Again, try saying that, what are you going to do?
yeah. It's incredible how much faster that feels. And yeah, it could totally throw you off if you're listening for R and you and going and to as separate words.
Exactly.
So recognizing these connected speech patterns sounds like a really big first step.
Okay, now that we sort of get why it sounds fast, what are some actual practical things our listeners can start doing? How do they get better at this?
Right, so how do we actually train our ears? Well, one of the most effective methods, honestly, is pretty simple. Listening and repeating.
Just listening and repeating.
Yeah, like we just did with those examples. You don't even need to understand every single word perfectly at first. The main thing is focusing on recognizing those sound patterns, how the words link. Just becoming aware of dija or gonna gives your brain a huge advantage.
That makes sense. Just getting used to the sound of it is probably half the battle. Our source also mentions shadowing practice. What exactly is that? How does it work?
Shadowing is, it's a really powerful technique. It sort of taps into how we naturally learn language by imitation.
Okay.
So here's how you do it. Find a short audio clip, maybe a bit from a movie, a YouTube video, anything with natural conversation.
Real people talking. Exactly. First, just listen through once without any subtitles. Just get the gist, the main idea.
Okay.
Then listen again, but this time with English subtitles. Now, here's the key part. Pause after each sentence, or maybe even each meaningful phrase,
And
then you repeat it out loud. But you're not just reading the words, you're trying to copy everything. The sound, the tone, the speed, the emotion, the rhythm, exactly as the speaker said it.
So you're really trying to mimic them completely, like an echo.
Precisely. You're echoing them. The focus is completely on the sound, not the written text. And this is great because it trains your listening and your speaking at the same time.
Two birds, one stone.
Kind of, yeah. It actually helps your mouth get used to making those native-like sounds and rhythms, which then makes it easier for your brain to recognize them when you hear them from someone else.
That's a fantastic tip. Train the ear and the mouth together. What's another practical exercise people can try?
Another really useful habit is to start actively noticing contractions and informal phrases. We mentioned I don't know instead of I do not know.
Right, or let me help ya instead of the full let me help you.
Exactly. Those kinds of shortened forms, those casual bits of language, they're everywhere in spoken English. They really contribute to that feeling of speed. So the more you consciously tune your ear to notice them, the less surprising they'll be. They'll start to sound normal.
So it's about training yourself to expect those shortcuts.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The source also mentioned something called a 1-minute rewind. That sounds interesting. What's that about?
The 1-minute rewind is brilliant because it's so manageable. You just pick a 1-minute video clip again, natural speech.
Just 1 minute.
Yep. Watch it once, no subtitles. Then rewind, watch it again, but this time focus intensely on just one sentence. Really try to catch every single word.
Okay.
If you miss something, rewind just that little bit, listen again as many times as you need. Once you think you've got it, pause and repeat that sentence out loud.
So it's super focused listening on a tiny segment.
Exactly. It's short, it's intense, but it's not overwhelming. And doing this consistently, even just for 1 minute every day, builds up your listening stamina and your ability to pick out details over time.
Yeah.
It really works.
I like that. It feels achievable.
Right.
Anyone can find 1 minute, right? Now, okay, moving beyond specific exercises. What about just dealing with real-world English? You know, the stuff you hear when you're actually out in the world.
Yeah, that's crucial. Because everyday spoken English, ordering coffee, chatting with friends, overhearing people, it's often full of expressions and slang that you just won't find in textbooks.
Right. It's more casual, sometimes a bit messy, but that's how people actually talk.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example or two?
Sure. Instead of someone very formally saying, let me get something to eat, you're much, much more likely to hear something like, let me grab a bite.
Grab a bite. Yeah, common.
Or instead of, I am going to leave now, someone might just say, I'm going to head out.
Gonna head out. Okay.
They're simple phrases, but they're part of that natural, faster flow.
So the advice here is really just exposure. Immerse yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. You need to expose yourself to authentic conversations. Watch shows, watch videos, maybe sometimes with subtitles, sometimes without. Listen to podcasts. Just soak it in. That kind of immersion helps your ear naturally adjust to the real speed and rhythm of English.
Makes total sense. Okay, another technique the source brought up was dictation practice. How does writing things down help with listening to fast speech?
Dictation is excellent for sharpening your focus. It really forces you to concentrate on every single sound.
How does it work exactly?
You play a very short audio clip, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences, and you try to write down exactly what you hear, word for word.
Okay, it sounds tricky.
It can be at first. Don't worry if you miss words. Just write what you catch. Then play it again, try to fill in the gaps, repeat that a few times. Then finally, compare what you wrote to the actual transcript or subtitles.
So you check your work. What's the main benefit of doing this?
The big benefit is that it forces you to actively concentrate. It helps you pinpoint exactly which words or sounds are tripping you up. Are they connected? Reduced? Is it a word you just don't know? It also boosts your concentration, your short-term memory, and even helps with spelling. And it specifically targets those little words to, of, a that often get swallowed in fast speech.
That sounds really effective for catching those details. Can we try a quick dictation example? The source had one.
Let's do it. Okay, listen carefully. Try to write this down. I should have told you earlier.
What's that again?
I should have told you earlier. Now, in fast, natural speech, that very often becomes, I should have told you earlier.
Shoulda.
Shoulda. See how shoulda just blends into that one sound. Go ahead, try saying it. I should have told you earlier. That's a perfect example of the kind of reduction you hear constantly.
That's really clear when you hear it broken down like that. Okay, another concept mentioned was chunking. What's the idea behind chunking?
Chunking is based on the idea that native speakers don't really process language word by individual word.
They don't.
Not really, not when they're fluent. Our brains group words together into meaningful phrases or chunks that we often hear and process as single units.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think of a super common phrase like, how are you? Your brain doesn't hear how, then are, then you. It just hears how are you as one block, one chunk of meaning.
Right, it's like one sound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or do you want to go? Often gets processed as the chunk. Do you want to go? Recognizing these common chunks speeds up your understanding immensely because you're not analyzing every single tiny word. It reduces the mental effort.
Okay, so it's like learning vocabulary but in phrases instead of single words.
Yeah.
How do you train yourself to recognize these chunks?
It really comes down to repeated exposure and context. Listen to interviews, dialogues, TV shows. Pay attention to those groups of words that seem to always stick together.
And repetition.
Yes, and definitely repeat them out loud yourself. The more you hear them and say them, the more automatically you'll recognize them as single units, even when they're spoken quickly. You can even try writing down sentences you hear and circling the bits that seem to function as a chunk. Pay attention to where speakers pause naturally. That often marks the boundary between chunks.
That makes a lot of sense. Focusing on the meaningful groups. Now, there was another technique called listen and imagine. That sounds kind of fun. How does that one work?
This one is about connecting the language directly to meaning and experience, rather than just words. When you listen to someone speaking maybe a short dialogue or even just one sentence, you actively try to create a mental picture of what's happening.
Like making a mini movie in your head.
Exactly. So if you hear, we grabbed some coffee and headed downtown.
Okay.
Don't just track the words grabbed, coffee, headed downtown. Instead, actually visualize it. Picture people getting coffee, maybe steam coming off the cups, then imagine them walking towards a city center.
I see.
By creating that mental image, you're grasping the overall meaning, the flow, even if you didn't catch every single little connecting word like and or the perfectly. It's about understanding the gist through visualization.
So you use your imagination to fill in the gaps almost.
Right.
The source had an example for us to try.
Yes. Okay, if you can, maybe close your eyes for a second. Listen to this. She ran out of the house, jumped into the car, and drove off without saying a word.
Pauses.
Could you picture that? The action, the speed, the feeling of maybe urgency or anger, the lack of words?
Yeah, definitely. I got a clear picture of that sequence of events.
That's the idea. You understood the meaning, the story, without necessarily needing to analyze every single word grammatically. It connects language to experience.
That's a really cool approach. Feels more intuitive. Now, shifting gears a bit, the source really stressed the importance of patience and mindset. Why is that so critical here?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. Learning to understand fast speech is a journey. It's not instant. It's totally normal, actually expected that you won't catch everything right away. It's okay to miss things.
It's more than, okay, it's part of the process. The key is being patient with yourself and, really importantly, not getting discouraged. Think of it like physical exercise. You don't build strong muscles overnight.
Right. It takes consistent workouts.
Exactly. Every time you listen, even if it feels hard, even if you only understand a tiny bit more than last time, you are making progress. You're strengthening those listening muscles. So acknowledge those small wins, celebrate them. That's what keeps you going.
That's a great way to think about it. Focus on the small improvements. Now, there was another technique mentioned, a variation on shadowing called repeat after pause. How's that different?
Repeat after pause is a bit more structured than free shadowing. Instead of trying to talk at the same time as the recording,
Which can be tricky.
it can. With repeat after pause, you listen to one full sentence. Then the audio pauses deliberately, giving you space.
Exactly. It gives you that moment to process what you heard, and then you try to repeat it exactly.
Yeah.
You can focus more carefully on the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation of that specific sentence before you try to say it.
So it's a bit more controlled, maybe better for really drilling down on specific sounds or rhythms?
It can be, yeah. It's excellent for improving your own speaking clarity and rhythm while simultaneously training your ear for those faster patterns.
Okay, makes sense. The source also talked about active listening. Isn't all listening active? What does it mean here?
Well, you can hear something without really listening, right? Active listening here means going beyond just registering the words. It's about consciously paying attention to the whole message.
Meaning?
Meaning the tone of voice, the emotion that's coming through, the speed, the pauses, all those nuances that aren't just in the words themselves. Native speakers use these cues all the time to add emphasis or convey feelings.
Can you give an example of how tone gives clues?
Sure, imagine someone says, "I really don't want to go." The way they drag out and stress, really.
Tells you they strongly feel it.
Exactly. Even if the rest of the sentence was a bit fast or mumbled, that emphasized word gives you a huge clue about their strong negative feeling. So, active listening is about tuning into those vocal cues, listening with your ears and your intuition, you could say.
Listening beyond the literal words. Okay. Another interesting point was about building background knowledge. How does knowing about a topic help you understand fast speech about it?
This is a really powerful factor. When you're listening to something about a topic you're already familiar with, maybe it's your hobby, your job, current events.
Something you know about.
Right. Your brain already has a framework. It can anticipate the kind of vocabulary that might come up, the common phrases, maybe even the general structure of the discussion.
So it's like you have a head start.
Exactly. That familiarity makes it so much easier to follow along, even if the speaker is talking quickly. Your brain can make better predictions, fill in gaps more easily. It's like having a mental map for the conversation.
That makes perfect sense. So the practical tip is,
choose listening materials related to your interests. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you follow a sport, listen to English commentary. Your brain will have an easier time processing things it already has some hooks for. Let's try a quick example. Listen to this. So, I was running late for work, spilled coffee on my shirt, missed the bus, and had to call a ride just to make it to the meeting.
okay,
Even if that was fast, what was the main idea you got?
definitely a bad morning, rushed, things going wrong, stressful.
Exactly. You got the gist, the overall story of a difficult commute without needing to catch every single word perfectly. That's context and background knowledge helping you out.
Got it. Now, let's loop back quickly to pronunciation and connected speech again, but specifically from the listener's angle. How does knowing how they pronounce things help us understand?
It's absolutely key. If you're only expecting perfectly enunciated separate words like in a textbook, you're setting yourself up for confusion when you hear natural speech.
Because it just doesn't sound like that.
Right. Understanding the common ways words blend, like what do you want to eat, becoming what I want to eat, or did you see it, sounding like did you see it, helps your brain anticipate these sounds. It knows what to expect. It's like learning the common shortcuts of spoken English.
So knowing the rules of how sounds change helps you decode it faster.
Precisely. And a great way to get comfortable with this is, again, to practice making those sounds yourself. Try saying gonna, wanna, shoulda. It might feel weird at first, but it tunes your ear to recognize it when others say it. And this brings us back to the echo method, too.
Remind us quickly how that worked.
Echo method. Listen to a short sentence, then immediately like an echo repeat it, trying to match the speed and rhythm exactly.
Yeah.
It trains your mouth and your brain together to handle the pace of fast English. You might stumble initially, but keep at it. It really helps internalize that natural flow.
Sounds like a great active exercise.
Yeah.
Now, a big challenge for many learners is unfamiliar accents. English has so many variations. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really common hurdle. American, British, Australian, Irish, Scottish, various regional accents within those. It can be a lot.
So what's the strategy?
The main strategy is just broad exposure. Actively seek out and listen to a variety of accents. Use videos, podcasts, music from different English-speaking regions.
Don't just stick to one type.
Exactly. The more diverse your listening input, the more flexible your brain becomes. It stops expecting just one standard way of speaking and gets better at processing different sound patterns and intonations. You're essentially broadening your auditory comfort zone.
Makes sense. The source had an example of informal American English.
Right. Listen to this. Hey, man, I'm heading out soon. You coming or nah?
Okay, I hear the drop G's heading, coming.
Yeah.
Nah, for no.
Yeah, very typical casual speech. Try repeating that. Hey, man, I'm heading out soon. You coming or nah? Getting used to hearing and even trying these variations is really helpful for understanding real-world conversations.
Definitely. Okay, let's get super practical now with tips for watching movies or TV shows. People love doing that to learn. How can they make it most effective?
Movies and shows are great, but don't just passively watch, be active. A good approach is maybe watch a scene first with English subtitles. Really see how the spoken words match the text.
Yeah.
Then try watching that same scene again, but without the subtitles. See how much you can catch just by listening.
Test yourself.
Yeah. And don't hesitate to pause. Pause after lines that sound interesting or difficult and repeat them out loud. You can even write down useful phrases you hear, like noticing they say, we've got to hurry a lot, which means we have to hurry. Those little active steps make a huge difference.
That's a really structured way to use movies for learning. What about using songs? How can music help with fast speech?
Music is fantastic for internalizing rhythm, intonation, and those word linkages we talked about. It's often naturally flowing.
Then fun.
And fun. Choose songs you like, look up the lyrics, listen while you read along. Then, the best part, sing along.
Belt it out.
Why not? Song lyrics often use very natural conversational language, and they're full of connected speech like gonna, wanna. Because music engages you emotionally, the language often sticks in your memory better too.
That's a great point. Okay, the source wrapped up with a final practice paragraph. Let's hear that now, at a natural pace.
Okay, here it is. We were supposed to meet at 7, but I got stuck in traffic and then couldn't find parking, so I ended up getting there almost an hour late.
Pauses. Right, lots of connections in there. Supposed to, got stuck, couldn't find, ended up getting.
Exactly. Try repeating that. Maybe break it into smaller pieces first. We were supposed to meet at 7 then, but I got stuck in traffic. Keep practicing saying it, and it'll become easier to hear it.
That's a perfect example of everyday fast speech. And finally, the source really hammered home that the key to improvement is consistent, intentional practice.
Absolutely. It's the core message, really. It's not about cramming or occasional intense study sessions. Real progress comes from small, steady steps, done regularly.
Little and often.
Little and often is perfect. Set realistic goals. Maybe listen to one short English podcast daily. Do 5 minutes of dictation. Do one minute rewind. Whatever fits your life, but do it consistently. Stick with it. Your ears will get better, your understanding will deepen, and eventually, following fast English will feel much more natural and less stressful.
So just to quickly recap the big takeaways from our deep dive. Understanding connected speech and reduced forms. Recognizing language chunks, using techniques like shadowing, active listening, listen and imagine, dictation and repetition. Plus, getting used to real conversations in different accents and using tools like movies and music effectively.
Those are all really powerful tools you can start using right now.
And the big picture goal.
Try to make English a part of your daily life, not just a subject you study. Immerse yourself whenever you can. The more you live with it, the more intuitive it becomes.
So we really encourage you. Revisit these exercises, practice them daily, focus on repeating chunks, listen consistently. With that dedication, understanding fast native English won't just be possible, it'll actually become, well, enjoyable and feel natural.
Definitely. And maybe one final thought to leave you with, just consider how much more of the world opens up when you can comfortably understand everyday conversations anywhere. Think about the new connections you could make, the experiences you could have just by navigating those fast interactions with confidence. It's a pretty powerful motivator, isn't it?